Hi, welcome back to Crime, Mystery, and Mayhem. Today's story is going to be about Hilda Nelson. Hilda Nelson was born in Sweden, May 24th, 1876. Now, before I continue with this story, I have to give a disclaimer because unfortunately this true crime story is about child neglect. So those of you who are sensitive to these kind of cases, I advise you to not watch the video. But others who are humble and can sit through this story without feeling squeamish or anything, and enjoy the show. So Hilda Nilsson was born in Sweden, May 24th, 1876. Sources say that she had a pretty awesome childhood. Her mother and father, they both worked to pay the bill, so she never really had to go without anything. But then when she became 14, she decided, I want to see what else is out there. See what the world has to offer for a young lady such as myself. So she goes out and about on her own, and she finds herself a job. So now while she's working this job, she's making a little bit of money. Back then it wasn't much of money, but it was something. At least you'll be able to provide food for the day. So she ended up locking eyes with this other young guy around her age in the store that she works at. And he falls in love with her. She falls in love with him. They instantly started dating and, planning ahead for the future and all the things that they wish to become and creating new memories. But then all of a sudden, she's excited. She finds out, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant. I better let my boo know about this. And she does. So she goes to him. She's like, baby, I'm pregnant. And he's like, deuces. So now she's sitting there with this baby and she doesn't know what to do. Well, she's pregnant at the time. She doesn't know what to do. And then weeks goes by and then she gives birth to the baby, and then 3 days later this baby dies. So she's heartbroken. I don't have a man. My baby's gone, And at this time, if you got pregnant outside of wedlock, people really hated you. They shunned you. They burned you at the freaking stake. It was like you were a witch back then if you had a baby and you weren't married. So at that time, the job that she had while she was pregnant, the guy she worked for, he did indeed fire her for being pregnant and not having a husband. So she's just out there. She's out there in the world. She don't want to go back home because she doesn't want to say to her mom and her dad that she could not do this. So she goes and she finds another job, but then she sees another guy and she's like, oh my goodness, he's so handsome, he's so dreamy. And then everything just starts to go downhill from there. It's like they get together, he gets her pregnant, and then once again she tells him the same story she tells the guy before, babe, I'm pregnant. And he's like, I'm out of here. So she's pissed off. And at this time, she's living with this lady, probably like a friend of hers or something. And she's being kind enough to let Hilda sleep on her couch. But little does she know is that this friend is going to actually put her and her baby out after she gives birth. So when this friend get news that, her boyfriend dumped her, and now she's panicking, well, that means I'm going to have Hilda feed, this baby to feed, and there's no man in Hilda's life to help me take care of this family. So as soon as Hilda delivers her baby, the lady kicks her out. Now, this is the middle of the winter time. Hilda is already, she's broke because every job she has, every time she meets a guy, she gets pregnant and the boss fires her. So she has no money for food for her and the baby. She has no blankets, no shelter, no anything. And unfortunately, the baby dies. The baby freezes to death. Again, Hilda, she's heartbroken, so she's like, I'm tired of this. I gotta be able to find a way to get up on my feet. So she starts prostituting. She's prostituting, she's staying in these different, places, these brothels and stuff, and, selling her body, getting her money, making it do what it do. And then all of a sudden, she meets this firefighter by the name of Kristoff. And, she's like, oh my goodness, telling her homegirls, like, I think he looking at me. And her friend's like, no, girl, he looking at me. And then Hilda like, girl, sit down, ain't nobody looking at you. So they're, arguing over, who's going to get to take the fireman upstairs in the room. But, the fireman, he wants Hilda. He checking for her. Like, I don't want none of her bald head friends. Her friends, they ugly. They elbows crusty. They knees. And, so he takes Hilda upstairs to the room. And then, they make love. And, they begin to have a relationship. And after this, he asks her to marry him. And they did. So they move in, and, Kristoff, he's like, you're my wife now. I want to adopt a child. And they adopted this little bitty boy. And as a matter of fact, I think the boy had to be like, he wasn't a baby, but he was like a toddler age, like probably like 2 or 3 years old. So they adopted the baby boy, and everything is good. And, Kristoff, he's a firefighter. Hilda, she doesn't have to go outside to work. She's making good money. And all of a sudden, Kristoff comes home, and he's like, Hilda, I got an injury in my eye at work. I'm going to have to take some time off. So he takes some time off, but then they eventually let him go because being a firefighter, you need the use of both eyes. So he ended up finding other employment, but unfortunately this other employment wasn't enough to compensate for all the bills that him and Hilda already had piled up right along with their foster child. So Hilda's like, you know what? I'm not going to let my baby go down like this. My baby can't work. I'm about to put my Superwoman cape on, and I'm going to make it do what it do. I'm about to get these newspapers, look at these ads, try to find a job. If I got to go back to selling that butt, it is what it is. So she goes in the ads, and then she finds this ad that says that a family wanted some type of daycare, and they will compensate them for their, them taking care of their child while they were working, or, trying to build a better life for themselves. So Hilda's like, what? I think I'm a pretty good mom. I could do this. So she sends out a telegram to contact this family, and this family comes out to, check out Hilda's home. They see that the floor is clean, and, she got it all mopped up and swept up and upkept, and the boy got the bow tie. He's just in the backyard with the ball. Just, everything is just good. So they're like, okay, this seemed like it'll be a pretty decent place for our daughter, Elizabeth, to be able to daycare at. So the family, they signed all the notes and all the paperwork, legal documentation that they need to be able to put the baby's care in Hilda's care. So the family drops the baby off, they leave, but now the baby is crying. The baby's crying to the point where the next door neighbors are like literally banging on the door. Shut that baby up. They're monsters. They need their ass whooped for that. But they're banging on the walls. Please, we're trying to get some sleep. Can't you see you're not the only one who pays rent here? And Hilda, she's doing everything that she can to quiet the baby, but the baby was probably, colicky or something, or probably just missed her mom. But she couldn't get the baby to quiet down, and she just lost it. So she waited till her husband went to work, and she took her son outside, and while the baby was still crying, she took the baby to the washroom, and she put the baby inside this large wash bucket, but she didn't lie the baby on its back. She lied the baby down, face front. And then she proceeded to cover the top of the opening of the pot with a board, and she put bricks over it, so she knew for sure that the baby could not get out. So she just watched the water and watched the air bubbles rise above and just pop, pop, let her know that the baby is still breathing. And she just sat there until every last bubble stopped. And then when every last bubble had stopped, she proceeded to wait even longer to reassure herself that this little bitty baby was actually dead. So once she verified that this baby wasn't breathing anymore, she took the baby out, wrapped the baby in some cloth, and then she went upstairs to check on her son or make sure that her husband wasn't back so no one could see what kind of vicious crime she had just committed. Then after she saw that the coast was clear, she took the baby right back down to the basement, opened up this heater. It's like an oven, like a little mini oven where you put the hot water pot on to boil, to get you hot water to wash your clothes. She opened up this oven door and placed the baby inside for hours. That bitch. Like, what? Like, you could have ran to the next door neighbor and asked for help. Help me. I don't know what to do about this baby. This baby is crying. Can someone just give me some assistance? Moving on. So now, Hilda, she's just like, okay, well, that was easy. You know, I got the money, you know, but the baby is gone. I'm just going to keep on, you know. And not just that, a lot of these mothers were literally contacting Hilda. They will pay her like some odd amount of money, and they will tell her, I'll be back to get my baby on this date. And some of them would never even show up. Like, for instance, this woman, you know, she telegrams Hilda, and she's like, I need an emergency daycare situation. I only got half the money, and I promise I'll be back for my baby. So Hilda's like, okay, you know, but little do this woman know, Hilda's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to kill the baby anyway because I don't have enough room at my house. It's clean, but I don't have enough room and I don't have enough food there. So Hilda gets this baby boy and she takes the baby boy home. She doesn't even take the baby boy in her home long enough to play with it or let the husband know, hey, I went down here to, you know, this office and I got us another child and this is the money. She's getting the money, taking the baby straight home to the washroom, drowning the baby. So the mom of the little boy, you know, weeks go by and she just decides, you know, all of a sudden, okay, I've worked quite a bit. I've got the other half of the money. So she telegrams Hilda. She's like, great news. I got the other half of that money. I want to set up an appointment to see my son. And Hilda's like, yo, son? Oh, I thought you weren't coming back for him. I sent them out of state to my sisters. So the lady's just like, wait, what? You didn't notify any of this to me. And Hilda's like, well, I didn't talk to you either. So I just assumed that you wasn't coming back. So the lady, you know, she asks and then she demands, Hilda, give me your sister's information who lives, you know, out of state. And Hilda, she writes down this information, and then but she's not thinking that the lady's going to contact her. She's not thinking, oh, these women are not serious about their babies. They don't come back from their babies. She's not going to go do any research about her son. The lady did research about her son. She followed the address that Hilda gave her to her sister, and she found out that Hilda simply did not have a sister that lived out of state. So the lady contacts Hilda again. And she's like, Hilda, this sister of yours does not exist. And Hilda's like, oh my goodness. Yes, it does exist, but I forgot to tell you in the weeks that I did not hear from you that you were reaching out to talk to my sister. My sister reached out to me and told me that your son died of some organ disease. So the woman is sad, and Hilda just like goes back to living her life like, I done told her what I needed to tell her. Go back to drowning kids. And then this lady, she's just heartbroken because she has no answers, you know, or at least if her son did die, she wants to at least be able to view her son's body, bury him where she wants to bury him, or cremate him if she chooses to. But there's no body at all, simply only because Hilda has burned the baby in her basement and possibly already buried the bones months ago. So during this time, more and more women who are having babies out of wedlock are literally knocking on Hilda's door. A lot of them wouldn't even set up an appointment through, you know, assistance or sign any paperwork because a lot of them just didn't want their baby back. They're like, here, I got this baby, I don't want it. And then Hilda's just like, okay, you got a couple cents, you got a few dollars, I know what to do with this baby. And they make the exchange. Hilda would take the baby straight to the washroom, or either choke the baby, burn the baby up, throw it in the fire, or put the baby face down in the wash tub and drown the baby. So eventually, more mothers who would drop their baby off, they started to get on their feet. So they will like search out to Hilda and sort of special telegrams. Hi, I want to come back and set an appointment to see my son Jack, or see my daughter Elizabeth, or see my daughter, Rebecca. And Hilda would just like make up these lies and be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't think you were coming back, so I sent them off to a really good family. They're rich, they're healthy, they're in school, they're getting everything that they need. So some of these mothers were like really passive and kind of like, oh, okay, well, that's good. Where as long as they're, in good hands, not knowing every last one of their children had been murdered before they even got a chance to see 5 years old. And some other mothers, they wouldn't give up. They wouldn't let up. So they would get in contact with other mothers who said that their baby was missing after Hilda had taken care of them. And like, it's sad that now Hilda's supposed to be married to this guy, Gustav. And how are they married and he's not noticing that babies are coming into the household? Or like before she started just bringing them home, just taking them in the basement, putting them in the tub, drowning them, he was seeing quite a bit of those babies. So why didn't he think to say anything? But yeah, moving on. So the more the mothers came aboard and began to bring to the attention to the police, like, our babies are coming up missing. There's no paperwork, no documentation of where she sent them, no addresses, no nothing. So the police calls in Hilda and her husband down to the police station, and they go without a care in the world. And Hilda just like I told you, I sent them to other loving families. And the police officers are like, because, back in that time, everyone was just dropping their babies off. So it's like, it wasn't hard to believe that what Hilda Nelson was saying was a lie. It's not like the police thought that she was lying, not one bit, because this is something that didn't happen out of the ordinary. These type of cases happen all the time. And there was a lot of undocumented births at that time. Women were literally getting pregnant out of wedlock, giving birth behind brothels, and leaving the babies in the trash piles and stuff. So it's not like any of this was brand new news to the police. So, they send her home, they send Hilda home, and they're like, everything is okay. But then more mothers start to resurface. And then Hilda's just like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm just going to tell the truth. I'm just going to give myself up, because eventually they're going to dig up my yard. They're going to find those bones. They're going to look in that oven. They're going to find those bones. They're going to find some type of evidence. So then eventually, right before Hilda decides to want to turn herself in, the police decides to come and do another interrogation. And with what they find, they did end up finding, bits of the pieces of the baby in the oven, and old little girl's clothing. All you have is a foster son. What are all these little girl clothings doing here? So they end up arresting Hilda. They didn't arrest the husband because there were no type of leads on him that stated that he had anything to do about this. As a matter of fact, I think he was just like, it's all on her. I don't know nothing about no baby. I ain't seen nothing. I know nothing. And just, pretty much just like let her hang out to dry. He probably told her, you better not say nothing. So it's like, you never know back in those times. But it's really seemed like she rode for her man on this. I bet she did know something, but she just kind of just didn't say anything. So they arrested Hilda, and then they took her to jail. There, where she awaited her sentence, they originally gave her the death sentence. But back then in Sweden, so many people were trying to get the death sentence, like, pardoned. They were trying to throw that out, because, and then Hilda was like one of the first women serial killers ever in the world. Because as we all know, most serial killers are typically male. Hilda Nelson was originally one of the first women serial killers. And so they wanted to give her the death penalty. But before they got a chance to give her the death penalty, she was sitting in her room, like in her cell, like, they about to kill me. I'm just going to go ahead and end it. She got a sheet, wrapped it around that bar, and took herself out of there, baby. it was too late. Before they even got a chance to tell her, they was about to come let her know, hey, Hilda, you know we just got rid of the death sentence. But she was already gone. Yeah. But yeah, that's the end of that story. I guess, you know what? A lot of that stuff still happens today in a lot of these daycare centers. Especially the ones who do not come with cameras where you can visually see everything or hear everything. You even find them in people's homes where the parents, they leave their children behind with these nannies or, you know, babysitters, and these babysitters not knowing that these parents have wisened up and got smart enough to put like these nanny cams inside of the stuffed animals. Like, how cool is that? Or they got cameras that are hidden in smoke detectors. But long story short, we have to take better care of where our children go. I'm very overprotective about mine. I encourage you to be the same if you're not, because you never know. Just because a person's house is clean, or they might seem like they might have a nice personality about themselves, they might have other intentions that you may not know about, and you might actually be putting your child in more harm's way than good. Well, with that being said, thank you for tuning in today. Like and subscribe, and join me next week on Crime, Mystery, and Mayhem.